students, I'm Varsha, your English teacher. At the beginning, I must welcome you all to this new session. You are in class 10th now, so congratulations to everyone. This is our first online class. Before we begin with teaching and learning, I would like to introduce you to the textbooks that you are going to have this year. So for class 10 English, there are two textbooks. One is reader and the other is supplementary. The name of your reader textbook is First Flight and your supplementary textbook is Footprints Without Feet. So these are the two textbooks that you're going to deal with this year. I know many of you won't be having your textbooks with you now. So while teaching, I'll be showing you the PDF file of each lesson on my laptop screen so that you can read along with me and understand the lesson. So today we are going to deal with the first poem of your reader textbook. The name of the poem is Dust of Snow, written by the poet Robert Frost. The poet Robert Frost, you must be familiar with the poet. Why? Because last year you learned one of his famous poems, The Road Not Taken. So before getting into the poem, I would like to give you a short introduction about the poet Robert Frost. So Robert Frost was an American poet and he was highly regarded for the realistic depiction of rural life, which simply means that in many of his poems, we find the common rural life of England. Other famous poems of this poet Robert Frost include Birches, Mending Wall, etc. The poem Dust of Snow is a very short and simple poem. It carries only 8 lines but it has a very deeper meaning. So first I'll be reading the poem to you, then I'll be explaining to you the meaning of difficult words, which will be followed by the line-by-line explanation of the poem, and finally we'll conclude this lesson by discussing the literary devices. Now you can see on screen the text of the poem Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. I'll read the poem to you. Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. This is the text of the poem. I will read the first answer to you again. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. First, I'll tell you the meaning of difficult words. Here, dust of snow means small particles of snow. And hemlock tree. Hemlock tree is actually a poisonous tree with small white flowers. So, these are the meaning of difficult words. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree. So what is happening in the first answer here? One day, the poet was standing under a hemlock tree. I told you earlier, hemlock tree is a poisonous tree, and one day while he was walking through the roads, he was standing under a hemlock tree, and suddenly a crow came and sat on the branch of the hemlock tree. The sudden movement of the crow on top of the tree resulted in the falling of some fine particles of snow onto the poet. This is what the poet is trying to explain in the first 4 lines. Once again, I'll repeat. One day, while the poet Robert Frost was standing under the hemlock tree, a crow came and sat on the branch of the hemlock tree. And the sudden movement of this crow on top of the tree resulted in the falling of some fine particles of snow on top of the poet. That is what is explained here as dust of snow. Dust of snow means some fine small particles of snow. So let's move on to the second stanza now. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. So in the first stanza, the poet explained that he is witnessing the sudden movement of a crow on top of a hemlock tree, and that sudden movement of the crow resulted in the falling of some particles of snow on top of the poet. And when he moves on to the second stanza, he says that this particular thing that he has witnessed has changed his mood. He was having a very terrible day. He was so sad at the beginning. But after witnessing this simple thing from the nature, his mood got changed. Has changed my mood. His mood got lifted. His mood got enlightened. Suddenly, he changed from a sad person to a happy person. Has given my heart a change of mood. So, what has changed the poet's mood? The witnessing of the crow's movement and that resulted in the falling of some fine particles of snow on top of the poet. So this simple particular thing has changed his mood. He got converted from a sad person to a happy person. Has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. R-U-E-D. Rude means to feel regret, to feel sorry for something. So the word rude means to feel sorry for something. And saved some part of a day I had rued. So the poet is saying that first he was a sad person, and when he witnessed this event that was happening in nature, the event of some small particles of snow falling on top of the poet, his mood got changed. His mood got elevated and saved some part of a day I had rued. So he was feeling so sorry for his day. Why? Because he was having a very terrible day. Something bad happened in his life, and because of that reason he was having a very terrible day. And after witnessing this thing, he's saying that his day got saved. Some part of the day got saved. Why? Because he got converted from a sad person to a happy person. So this is the meaning of the lines. I'll read the poem once again to you. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. So now let's do an analysis of this poem. Now I hope you might have understood the meaning of the lesson. So let's move on to the poem analysis. So what is the one message that the poet is trying to convey? He is explaining a simple incident that he has witnessed from the nature. And through the simple incident, he is trying to give the message to the readers that we as human beings should learn to find joy in little things that are happening around us. In life, we might be coming across a lot of negative things. But through this poem, the poet is trying to teach us a lesson that we should search for some positive things in negative scenarios also. We should learn to find joy in simple things happening around us, and we as human beings might be experiencing many negative things in life, and how we should turn those negative things into positive things through the simple things that are happening around us. This is the message that the poet is trying to give. So there is one more message, which is that the healing power of nature. How nature can heal human beings. When we are sad, if we observe nature, we'll be able to see many things. And that simple and silly things can sometimes change our mood from sadness to happiness. So two things that the poet is trying to convey here. How we should learn to find joy in simple things happening around us, and the second thing is how nature helps us in healing things, how nature can be helpful to us in changing our mood from sadness to happiness. So this is the two messages. These are the two messages that the poet is trying to convey. Another thing that you have to notice, in the first stanza, in the first 4 lines, the poet is making use of 2 images. One is the crow and the other is hemlock tree. Usually you might have seen poets using the images of birds and animals into their poems. But most of the images will be positive in nature. Likewise, peacock, nightingale, etc. But here, poet Robert Frost has purposefully made use of the image of a bird, crow. Crow is actually regarded as a bad omen, a negative image. So he has purposefully made use of the image crow in the first stanza of the poem. The other image that we see here is hemlock tree. Hemlock tree, I told you, is a kind of a poisonous tree. Since it is a poisonous tree, obviously it will be regarded as a negative image. So the poet is making use of two negative images in the first stanza of the poem. One is the crow and other is the hemlock tree. So he is purposefully using these two negative images in the first stanza of the poem to create a negative mood to the poem. To give the readers a negative impact, the poet has made use of two negative images in the first stanza of the poem. One is the crow and the other is the hemlock tree. And when he moves on to the second stanza, we see the sudden transition. In the first stanza, he was sad, and when he comes to the second stanza, he says that how he changed from a sad person to a happy person. So the transition from a negative image to a positive image is clearly visible in the poem. Now let's discuss the literary devices that are used in this poem. So in the first stanza, the poet has made use of two literary devices. One is enjambment. You might be familiar with this literary device, enjambment. The spelling is E-N-J-A-M-B-M-E-N-T. Enjambment means when one idea or when one line continues on to the next line without any punctuation marks, that kind of literary device is called enjambment. When the same sentence continues to the next line without any punctuation marks, this literary device is called enjambment. If you look onto the first stanza, you can see that the whole 4 lines is a single line. The poet has began explaining something in a first line. That line is continued on to the second line, then to the third line, then it finally ends in the fourth line. This whole stanza is a single sentence with no punctuation marks. When the same sentence continues to the next line without any punctuation marks, that literary device is called enjambment. So in the first and second stanza, the poet has made use of the literary device enjambment. Now, coming back to the first stanza again, the other literary device that the poet has made use of is assonance. Assonance. A-S-S-O-N-A-N-C-E. Assonance is a literary device in which some vowel sounds are repeated. So, assonance is a literary device in which vowel sounds get repeated. See, if you look into line number 2, shook down on me. Shook down on me. Here in this line, the vowel sound O is repeated. Shook down on me. The vowel sound O is getting repeated. So we can find the literary device assonance here. And assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds. Now let's move on to the second stanza. In the second stanza, the poet has made use of the literary device alliteration. You all might be familiar with this literary device, alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds. When you look into the first line, has given my heart. The sound her is repeated twice. So you can say the literary device alliteration or the repetition of consonant sound her is came here. So the poet has made use of the literary device alliteration. When you move on to the third line, again there is an example for alliteration. And saved some part, saved some. The consonant sound sir is getting repeated. So this is also an instance of alliteration, repetition of consonant sounds. So these are the literary devices that the poet has made use in this poem. I hope you all have understood this poem. I request everyone to go through this poem once again, make notes, understand the lines, etc. Along with this poem, you will be getting a Word document, and in that Word document, you will get reference to context questions based on this poem and some question answers also. And I request everyone to write those reference to context questions and question answers in your copy and prepare the poem. Thank you for listening, everyone.